At the Central 46, Captains Kyoraku and Yukitake managed to get out of the rubble too late. Aizen along with his followers had already escaped, but what unsettled them was the monstrous power that brought them to their knees. This power is not that of those Ryakus. This power is full of pure evil, thought the white-haired man trying to get to his feet. Things could get very ugly. We must find every captain who is in condition to fight, said an unusually serious Kyoraku. Yukitake nodded and both went to recruit the captains starting by going to the 4th division, because they knew that Anahana's powers could be very useful against this dangerous enemy. With Goku, Broly, it is impossible. He was supposed to have exploded with the planet 2 years ago, said a serious Goku preparing to leave. Wait a moment, do you know whose power this is? Asked Yamamoto standing up with difficulty after his fight against Sun. Yes, I know him, and if my son, and I do not stop him now, he will destroy this place until not even its ashes remain, said a serious Goku. Then I must call all the squads to stop him. I will not let this place be destroyed, said Yamamoto. If you do that, thousands will die. The only ones who could do anything to him are the captains, but I do not want to put them in danger, said Goku, who still transformed into SS1, and with his Bankei shot off toward where his son was, with Gohan. No, this is not happening. He should be dead, said a frightened Gohan. Gohan, what is wrong with you? I have never seen you so scared before, said a worried Rukia. What is happening is that this guy was and still is a monster. He almost killed me, my dad, and almost all our friends back where we come from. He is also a Saiyan, said Gohan seriously. There is something bothering me. Besides this monstrous power, I sense hollow power inside him, said Harabel seriously, getting to her feet. Although I lost my powers fighting Mayuri, I can still sense spiritual power, and there is also Quincy power in that guy, said a serious Urayu, because both energies were incalculable and impossible to mix. There is also Shinigami power. This must be Aizen's doing, there is no doubt, said Yuruchi, remembering something Urahara told her a long time ago. Flashback: some time ago, Urahara asked Yuruchi to accompany him, because he felt something was wrong that rainy night about 8 years ago. Upon arriving at a bridge, he found the horror. The bodies of Masaki Kurosaki, the wife of his best friend Aishin, and Ichigo Kurosaki lay on the ground on that rainy night, dead and lifeless. But what most unsettled the man was that the boy was missing an arm, while the rest of his blood mixed with the water. Why is he missing an arm? Asked Yuruchi in her cat form, confused. This is the work of the great fisherman. He does not need to consume a whole body to use it as bait. With just a part of it he can create a lure, said the serious man examining the bodies. But that does not explain why he did not eat them, said the cat. Something or someone scared it away from here. But I want you to look at this, said the man in the hat, pointing at the corpses. Yuruchi looked confused as she saw a small mark on both bodies as if someone had drawn blood. So she reasoned that whoever drove the hollow away did it for the blood of both victims. This is terrible. Whoever took that blood is playing with fire, said Urahara very seriously. Why, what is so important about the blood of both of them? Asked Yuruchi very seriously, because the mystery was driving her to despair. This boy Ichigo's blood has the perfect union of Shinigami, Hollow, and Quincy powers. So I suspect that person wants to combine the 3 powers into one, said the former captain, somewhat frightened. And his friend felt the same, thinking about the terrible possibilities. End of flashback. That damned Aizen, he must be the one who took that blood and put it in this guy to have a Super Saiyan warrior with the 3 powers of this world, thought a frightened Yuruchi at that possibility. KKRO2. Broly's scream was heard as his power increased again. In an instant Goku arrived and was received by his fiancés, who looked worried about what would happen. Both Saiyans were about to go fight until Yamamoto stopped them. Listen, it is possible that we will not defeat him, but we will buy you time, so you can have all your strength to fight, said the elderly captain, who although still weakened would fight. But, said Gohan, I know you did not spend any power against us, but I refuse to let you fight without your full strength, said the captain firmly, and the sons reluctantly agreed. Good then, Captain Soifan, go find Kamamura and Kenpachi. We will need all the available captains, ordered Yamamoto. Yes, Commander, nodded the small captain. But before she left, Goku took her by the arm. Be careful, Soifan, that guy is not just anything, said Goku, which made the captain blush at the concern he showed despite barely knowing her. When both captains left, Nanao and Rangaku began applying medical keto on Goku to restore his spiritual power, while Rukia did the same with Gohan, being assisted by Orihim's fairies. With Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan was crossing the skies, searching for his prey, and was about to launch a green key sphere to force his enemy out of hiding, which was stopped by Captain Yukatake, who with his Shike Sojo no Kataori managed to barely absorb the power of the small and lethal sphere to redirect it against his enemy, who indifferently struck the attack aside with his hand, deflecting it so it exploded elsewhere, creating a great flash in the surroundings. That was too close. I hope I do not have to do that again. His power is so overwhelming that I will not be able to contain it if he makes a bigger sphere, thought the captain as his friend arrived to support him at his side. There was also Captain Unohana, who was not yet in condition to fight, because she had not fully recovered from her fight against the Vasto Lord. They were joined by Yamamoto Soifan, Kenpachi, who was barely injured, and Kamamura, who looked as if an army had run through him several times in a row. Captains Byakuya, Toshiro, and Mayuri were out of combat from their previous fights, and Aizen, Taozen, and Jin had betrayed them, so they were alone in this. Yamamoto, Unohana, and Kamamura were the least fit to fight, so they would have to use their Bankei carefully. Soifan could only use her missile one more time since she had already wasted a shot on Goku. Kenpachi, though not as tired and injured, could do little with his brute strength against someone who far exceeded that strength, so this left only Kyoraku and Yukatake as the only ones with their full power to fight against the legendary Saiyan, who looked at them merely as annoying insects. Suddenly a collar on Brawly's neck began giving him shocks so he would follow specific orders, but furious, he tore off the device and headed toward his first victim. Kamamura quickly, when he noticed his enemy looking at him, activated his Bankei, making the armor at his back attack, bringing down its giant sword, which was destroyed very simply by a punch from the legendary Saiyan. Curiously, Brawly's hand showed that beneath the skin there was something white in color. From one second to the next, the crazed green-haired man struck the armor, turning it into scrap, then landed a kick on the wolf captain that shattered all the bones in his chest, and surely gave him internal bleeding as he fell to the ground, creating a crater, and breaking many buildings, becoming the first of the captains to be defeated in a simple manner. Kenpachi was completely thrilled by the fight, so without listening to Yamamoto, he lunged with his sword and without his eye patch landed a lethal sword strike on the Saiyan's chest, which did not flinch as the sword broke, so Broly grabbed him by the face, and then dove toward the ground, smashing the sadistic captain, who could not hold back a howl of pure pain as he was dragged through all the streets until, blocking a kick from Soifan, he decided to finish off his enemy by using Zaraki's body as a bat, striking the captain, and leaving Kenpachi completely knocked out and with severe damage to his face. We will not win at this rate, we must coordinate a strategy, said Yukatake, having a plan. Despite his habit of not using his power in public, Kyoraku found himself in the painful necessity of activating his Shike. The wind of the flower is stirred, the god of flowers weeps, the wind of the sky is stirred, the demon of the sky laughs. Kaiten Kayakatsu, recited Kyoraku as his katanas turned into two large black scimitars. I doubt even Kyoraku's games will be effective. This subject only attacks by savage instinct, so games could not matter less to him, thought Yamamoto, sweating with nervousness. Yukatake's idea was put into practice, starting with Soifan activating her Bankei to fire the missile, which only angered the legendary Saiyan, who looked at her with hatred, and hurled a green sphere from his hands that was quickly redirected by the white-haired man, who was surprised to feel hollow power in the attack. When the green flash hit Broly, he was attacked by Kyoraku, who launched a gust of wind that did nothing to him, but now trapped him in the captain's games. Quickly Unohana threw a large amount of acid over his whole body that corroded his skin, but it did not seem to affect him, in addition to revealing that beneath the skin there was a white shell similar to that of some hollows. Broly, furious at what happened, lunged at the woman, sending her flying with a tremendous blow to the face that by pure miracle did not end in decapitation. She was about to crash, until an injured Kenpachi stopped her, sparing her more damage than expected while the sadistic captain collapsed from exhaustion on top of her. Yamamoto used Zenka no Tachi from the west to protect himself from the Saiyan, who, seeing how dangerous the flames were, moved away to attack Kyoraku. Iruni, colorful demon, now I will strike whichever. The captain could not finish his technique as he dodged the imminent impact with a flash step. KKRO2. Broly screamed again as his skin peeled off, completely revealing that his chest had a hole like that of any hollow plus a white shell over his chest. If I attack anything that has the color white, you will take a lot of damage, said the captain as he shed his captain's robe, and again with a flash step made a cut with both weapons against his enemy's chest. He was surprised when his weapons bounced off. The legendary Saiyan unconsciously used a hollow power called Yero, I think that was the name, and another called Blut Veen, belonging to the Quincy's. This unsettled the captain, who suddenly fell victim to a deadly green Sero, that if not for Yukatake absorbing part of its power would have killed him. Commander Yamamoto was ready to attack so the Saiyan would feel his flames, but for his bad luck, before he arrived, his armor vanished from the exhaustion of his previous fight, so Broly with an evil smile took the old man by the arms and legs with his gigantic hands, then brought him down, and landed a devastating knee strike that broke the captain's back along with other bones, and after he vomited a large amount of blood, his enemy threw him to the ground like simple trash. That was roughly how the blow landed. Soi Fan was completely terrified, something she had not felt in years, to the point that she could not move in the air. But before her enemy could strike her dead, a golden flash appeared in front of her, and delivered a powerful punch to Broly, sending him far into the ground. Since the green-haired man did not expect that surprise attack, this was none other than Goku in SS2. They had not yet fully restored his spiritual power, but when he felt everyone fall, and the captain in danger, he teleported to help her, and get the wounded out to safety from this monster. Before Goku could say anything, the captain threw herself at him to hug him, telling him she was very scared, thinking she would die. "I told you, I will not let anything happen to you," said Sun, smiling, causing the captain to blush again, and her heart to race. "Thank you," she said, stammering before returning to her serious expression when she saw Goku's face, which was also serious. "Look for those who have fallen to bring them here. I am almost ready, but I will not let them die," said Sun. So the captain went to look for Kenpachi and Unohana, while Goku did the same with Kamamura and Yamamoto. Goku carried Kamamura and Yamamoto on his shoulder, stacking them, while Soi Fan carried Kenpachi with difficulty while being followed by a severely wounded and exhausted Unohana, who was barely conscious, and could be seen walking with great pain. With everyone ready, Unohana touched Sun's back, while the small captain pressed herself against the man's chest, feeling his muscles and blushing suddenly again. Once that was done, Goku teleported back to the execution hill so the wounded could be healed by Orihime, who finished restoring Gohan's powers, though his father still needed it, which Rangaku and Nanao took care of. And back to the fight, Kyoraku got up from the ground very sore from the impact of Broly's attack, who looked at him maliciously before creating an even bigger sphere that made the surroundings look green for a few seconds. "Die," said the legendary Saiyan, launching an Omega Blaster. The captain stood up to stop the attack, but Yukatake appeared to save him, this time absorbing the attack, which was too much for the white-haired man's Shike, so his weapon overloaded, exploding and sending him flying far away. Although he could not redirect the impact, at least he reduced it and prevented his friend's death, who was now one of the few captains still standing to face Broly. With few options on what to do, Kyoraku decided to use his last resort, which luckily had no one nearby to fall victim to the powers of his Benkai's release. He lifted his two swords from the ground, and then placed them against the ground to drive them in. Before his weapons touched the ground, he said, "Benkei, Kaiten Kayakatsu, Kuramatsu Shinju, Bone Madness of the Flowery Sky, Black Pine of the Lover's Suicide." With that said, his swords began melting into the ground, creating black roots that began spreading over the ground of the destroyed Tsuride. This did not seem to impress the legendary Saiyan, who simply came down to finish off his enemy, surprised that the effects of his Benkei had not yet taken hold. So Kyoraku began his first attack. The captain activated the first level of his Benkei, which consisted of both of them now sharing the wounds each inflicted. So the brown-haired man did not defend against Broly's next blow to the chest, which made him grimace in pain from feeling his own strike. It worked, he just felt his own blow. But so did I, thought the captain, getting up from the ground with broken ribs. Although his opponent would take the same damage, there was a problem. His body could not withstand the same amount of damage as his opponent, so he used the next level of his Benkei, which would be the most effective. Activating level 2 of his Benkei, Kyoraku made hundreds of black marks appear on Broly's body, causing him to bleed a little, if not for the regeneration he had from his new powers. Despite losing blood, Broly was more than willing to kill the captain if not for the fact that he began to feel the despair produced by Kyoraku's Benkei, so he activated the last level of his Zanpakuto. Suddenly, the two were enveloped in a giant dome of water. This last attack meant that only one of them would come out alive, so whoever first ran out of air or Ryatsu would die. However, there was a detail about the Saiyan race that the captain did not know, and it would only make things go from bad to worse. Although the Benkei of Kaiten Kayakatsu made his enemies feel despair and sadness, Broly only felt the despair he felt when he was being defeated by Goku, All of this added to the experiments Aizen did on him, causing him to feel a rage that kept increasing until it exceeded the limits of his current power, screaming inside the water many times the name of the person he hated most. KKRO2. Broly screamed as his ki kept increasing again, beginning to dissolve the water, leaving the captain wide-eyed, not knowing what could happen now. With the suns ready, dear, your spiritual power is back to 100%, now you can, said Rangaku before falling to the ground as if she were in the gravity chamber. Broly's ki caused everyone to have trouble breathing besides being crushed by the powerful energy, while everyone looked at the sky as a column of green power emerged upward, frightening the Shinigami who still knew nothing about Broly. Impossible, his power is increasing again, said a nervous Goku, as was his son at such an increase in power. Dad, we must go now before his power keeps increasing, and we cannot do anything to stop him, said a serious Gohan. Yes son, I agree, said the elder son. AAHH/AAH both screamed to transform into Super Saiyan 2 with their Bankase activated. Both flew off in a trail of golden light, while everyone who was with them got up slowly since the power increase had stopped. With Kyoraku, the brown-haired captain was completely terrified by what he saw. Not only had his enemy completely destroyed his Bankei, but the release of his power caused him to look very different and frightening with his mere presence. With the release of Broly's power he activated the hollow powers in his body from Aizen's experiments, which gave him the powers of the three most powerful races in this world. Now having skin completely white like bone, his somewhat battered white pants remained intact, and his legs had taken the shape of some reptilian animal's legs with claws, the whole of every hollow in the center of his chest. From his arms protruded sharp pieces of bone, while his hands turned into sharp claws, and on his face there was a half-mask shaped like a devil, with a horn pointing upward that showed his eyes now red with a killing intent never before seen. His green hair bristled more and lightning came off his body. Not only did he release his maximum implanted powers, but the rage caused him to transform into legendary Super Saiyan 2. Broly was ready to kill the captain by mixing a green Sero with his energy blaster attack, if not for two flashes of light that struck him together, destroying the Sero and forcing the hollowified Saiyan back. Leave him alone, your fight is against us, said Goku looking at his old enemy, who only looked at him maliciously before shouting. KKRO2, said the legendary Saiyan with a voice that echoed throughout the place as he raised his power once more. The three Saiyans were ready for the fight that would decide the fate of the Soul Society, or even the entire world. Muahahaha, I left you in suspense, but do not worry, the next chapter will be longer. Weekly question, mention your favorite character from DB, DBZ, DBGT, and DBS. No repeats allowed. In DB, my favorite character is Roshi and I am glad they gave him his place in the tournament. In Z it is Piccolo, the best babysitter in Universe 7, having incredible fights like the one against Freezer Phase 2 or Imperfect Cell. In GT the only one I liked was Super 17, and in Super the one who earned my respect was Hit. Not for nothing does Goku have a Bankei inspired by him. At the Sakayoku Hill, Goku's fiancés and Gohan's friends and girlfriends, after recovering from being crushed by Broly's spiritual pressure, watched the horizon as both Saiyans went straight toward their enemy. Everyone knew they were not on the level of the legendary Saiyan, who to make matters worse had the power of the three most powerful races in this world. But they were willing to go support the Suns however they could. However, the Suns asked them to stay there, but clearly they would not listen, and it was only a matter of waiting to see who would take the first step, and that someone was Gohan's best friend in this world, and at the same time his father's best student Chad. Come on, it is clear they will not listen to us. Even though my power is insignificant compared to our enemy, I will still help the people who train me, and gave me the power to protect those who matter to me, said the young man activating his two arms to fight as he flew off with his ki, thinking along the way of a girl dressed in white with pink eyes for whom he felt something and wanted to see again. He is right, I must help too, they freed me, and I owe them Bankei. Haka no Ta game, said Rukia, who already in her white kimono and sword, flew off carrying with her a mantle of mist around her. Breathe deeply, this may be your last breath, Maiden of the Sea, said Harabel, activating her second resurrection, and also heading to the battlefield. Bankei, hey Nico, Infernal Cat, said Rangaku, now in her feline form following the Vosto Lord. Everyone began activating their maximum abilities, except Urayu, who lost his Quincy powers, and whose ki was insufficient to fight. The last to leave were Soi Fan to carry the wounded to a safe place, and Nanao to heal them. All of this so as not to stand idly by while the others did something. with the sons. Father and son quickly lunged into attack against the legendary Saiyan, who thanks to Kyoraku and his Benkei, had managed to reach phase 2 of the legendary Super Saiyan, with which he was now dodging Goku and Gohan's attacks very easily before attacking them with his hands, landing a powerful punch on Gohan that sent him flying and disarmed him, making Tensa's Zangetsu fall far from his position, so the younger son reluctantly had to leave his weapon to resume the fight against this monster. For his part, Goku managed to land some hits on Broly thanks to the powers of his Benkei, but his enemy barely took damage due to the defensive powers of the Quincy's and Hollows reinforcing his skin, so his Toki Tabashi helped him more to dodge his enemy's direct and imminent attacks, but that did not stop the elder son from being careless and falling victim to a green Saro from his opponent that made him drop his guard, and then the legendary Saiyan gave him a hammer blow, sending him diving into the ground, creating a crater. Broly was ready to crush Goku with a diving attack with both fists extended, if not for a kick from Gohan that made him back away, giving the elder Saiyan time to get back up and step back with his son. At this rate we will not beat him and his power keeps increasing, said Goku looking at the enraged Broly seriously and analytically. It is true, and I do not want to use all my spiritual power yet. I will need it as a last resort in combat, said Gohan as he felt the presence of Zangetsu near his friends, who were on their way, which worried him. Well thought, son. Then I will have to use the full power of my Benkei, said Goku, putting on the metal mask of his Zanpakuto that hung from his belt. With the mask, he now saw on Broly's body a series of red and yellow points indicating which were his most vulnerable points to attack more precisely and destructively. This mask lets me see my enemy's weakest points to then give them a critical blow with my time leap, said Goku, his voice slightly distorted, to his son. Authors note something like the Pip-Boy analyzer in the Fallout game franchise. In an instant using his time leap, Goku kicked the legendary Saiyan in the neck, who complained slightly despite having used Blood Fiend, while his enemy landed another blow to his ribs, and finally, before sending him flying, struck him in the hole in his chest, impressing the younger son. Wow dad, that technique is impressive, said an amazed Gohan. I know son. But using my powers with the mask on still wears down my powers faster, so I must be careful, said the elder son, knowing he had to use his power carefully. Kakarot too, screamed the hollowified Saiyan, charging a Saro blaster with his hand ready to launch it. Goku and his son prepared to contain the attack until they felt the presences of their friends, fiancés, and girlfriends nearby, but the first of them got ahead of the rest and shouted, Gohan, catch it, shouted Momo, who threw Tensa Zangetsu for Gohan to catch. Broly launched his attack and Gohan told his father to go after his enemy, while he concentrated spiritual energy and ki into his sword, preparing his attack. Jitsuga Tensho, shouted the younger son, launching an arc of energy that split Broly's attack in two and sent it far away where no one would get hurt. Soon every single person who had been with the sons arrived, looking at the tremendous destruction caused by the fight, which frightened Goku's fiancés and Gohan's girlfriends, who knew the story of the legendary Super Saiyan, and that now that he had all the powers of this world he was only a more dangerous enemy than before. Goku and Gohan kept trying to defeat the crazed Saiyan, without much success, because the tough hollow shell was very resistant to the younger son's cuts, and Goku's normal punches. Broly quickly caught a kick from Goku, and with it struck Gohan, sending them both flying, then hurled multiple Siras at them that they could barely stop. With that distraction the hollow Saiyan grabbed both of them by the head to knock them against each other, and then slammed them against the ground, accompanied by a powerful knee strike to their backs, making them cough up blood, and leaving them quite hurt from these brutal attacks. While this was happening the girls watched in horror as the people they loved most were being destroyed by this monster. They were about to launch an attack, but Goku managed to break free of the grip to land a critical blow on Broly's hole, making him release Gohan, who without wasting time charged a Masenko, forcing him back and destroying several buildings in the process. Damn it, he is too strong and his new powers make him more unstoppable than before, said Goku, somewhat winded and sore from the blows received. It is true, but at some point he must lose his spiritual powers. We must try to exhaust him, said Gohan, trying to stay calm, although he was also panting from exhaustion. While the spectators watched how this fierce battle destroyed hundreds of buildings, they noticed that the Saiyans were trying to draw their opponent away from the 4th division, because it was more than clear that the people there would be unable to evacuate in time, and would be annihilated in less than seconds. Broly emerged from the rubble with rage as he began to be dominated by the savage instincts of a hollow, So out of control he launched a Sero blaster at the spectators, who managed to get out of the blast radius except Momo, who was too frightened by what she saw, making it impossible for her to move. So she closed her eyes and waited for her end, which never came. Without warning, Gohan, using his flash step, grabbed the girl by the arm, pulling her away from the impact, leaving her blushing at the sight of her savior's serious face. "Stay out of this, if you want to do something. Search that rubble. Someone is trapped," said Gohan, pointing to where Kyoraku was buried, before lunging into attack against his enemy, raising his ki again. Little by little Goku felt his Benkai's power fading. So using his time leap he charged a super Kamehameha that he launched at the malicious enemy's face, which took a strong wound to his face, but he still kept fighting with more rage than before, regenerating the hollow mask forming on his face. From one moment to the next Goku's mask broke, and his outfit began to fall apart while his sword returned to normal along with his clothes, something that the legendary Saiyan took advantage of, landing a knee strike to our hero's stomach with a psychotic smile, making him cough blood, then hitting him with a hammer blow, leaving the elder son quite hurt while his son tried to face the enemy, who did not seem to tire from anything they did. With another surge of energy, Broly launched two powerful blows against his enemies, leaving them temporarily out of combat, since they lost their Super Saiyan 2 transformation, so he decided to focus his attention on the spectators, who prepared to face him however they could. The first to attack were Goku's fiancés, who were scattered with a single blow, landing next to the unconscious elder son while trying to wake him with some tears in their eyes. Tatsuki charged with all her strength a fire punch, while Chad launched a double fist attack, with his right arm launching an energy attack, while with the left he used the same technique he used against Kyoraku, death. These combined attacks did nothing to the hollowified Saiyan. Tatsuki broke her hand from the blow along with her glove, which shattered into thousands of pieces, while Chad felt the bones of his left hand also broken. Before Broly could crush them like the simple insects they were, he was stopped by ice as his body slowly froze, courtesy of Rukia using her Benkei, but to her horror the green-haired man did not flinch, and destroyed the ice before landing a direct blow, part of the impact stopped by Orihim's shield, which ended up breaking, causing both of them to take the hit and end up wounded. Rukia had to shut off her Benkei before its powers affected her, while Orihime thought about how to react, but not even all of Gohan's training had prepared her for something like this. For his part, Chad landed another blow with his good arm, so the annoyed Saiyan gave him a swat that destroyed several buildings and left him out of combat, bleeding from his head. For her part, Tatsuki used a fire kick that was stopped by Broly, who threw her against her friends, who managed to catch her before she took more damage. Everyone panicked when their enemy charged a Sero blaster to kill them all in one blow. They all hugged each other, remembering the good moments of their lives, though they were sad not to have been able to spend the rest of their years with their boyfriend and manage to have a family with Gohan. They all waited for the attack that never came because of a recovered Gohan, who stood in front of them with his arms outstretched. What the younger son was doing was stopping the attack with a key barrier that managed to reduce the impact, but the young Saiyan ended up very injured with one of his arms badly damaged. In this case, protecting his girlfriends left him with a broken arm, and only the lower part of Zangetsu's clothing intact, since the rest was destroyed. For his part, Goku woke up from the girl's screams and, feeling his son's ki dropping dangerously, transformed again into SS2, and landed a hit on Broly to pull him away from his son, who was unconscious and being healed by Orihime, who through tears begged that he not die, which unleashed even more of Goku's rage, raising his power a bit more. This increase let him land powerful blows like the ones he used to defeat him before, with the difference that now the Hollow Saiyan was not willing to lose again. So in a burst of power his entire devil mask shattered, making his now blood-red eyes glow, reaching his maximum hollow power, and beginning to take the lead again in combat, landing several punches and kicks on Goku, who groaned and tried to dodge every blow, which proved useless due to his previous injuries. After landing a blow on Son that nearly punctured his stomach, Broly, taking advantage of his enemy's weak defense, charged a Sero that hit him full on, destroying his clothes. Goku tried to stand, but found it very difficult since he took a kick to the ribs that made him lose his Super Saiyan 2 transformation again. The crazed Saiyan was more than ready to finish off his enemy, charging a Sero, but his body was immobilized by a pile of ash that exploded over him without causing any damage. Then he was dragged by the mouth of a water dragon to finally take a strong kick from an angry Uruchi, who used Kaioken times 4 along with her Shunshin Chahinjin transformation to pull that monster away from her beloved. "We will not let you hurt him, Dark Cascade," shouted Harem, who managed to trap her enemy in the water. With that done, Rangaku and her Benkei covered the entire sphere of water with ash, and finally Yoruchi launched an electric discharge to electrocute her enemy, so that afterward the orange-haired woman made the sphere explode, creating a gigantic explosion that brought with it a small rain from the detonated water. Goku! The three of them shouted over the state of their fiancé, which worried them, and they did not like seeing their beloved this way. The elder son got back up with difficulty with Yoruchi's help. His Shinigami robes were completely destroyed while only the badly battered blue shirt of his Daji remained. Goku knew they had done nothing to deserve this, so he put himself in front, taking a direct hit from Broly that left him on the ground very hurt. Yoruchi was about to give Goku the last hermit seed, but her enemy gave her a knee strike that made her cough blood, sending her flying. Then he grabbed her by the head and slammed her against the ground, leaving her very hurt and about to lose her transformation. Goku witnessed this and rage began to overtake him, something similar to what had happened on Namek years ago. The next to fall was Rangaku, who despite using all her ash could not stop her enemy's advance, who hit her in the stomach then grabbed her by the cat tail she had from her Benkei, and slammed her against the ground several times until the legendary Saiyan felt a discomfort, as if his spiritual power were being drained. Turning in the other direction he looked at Harem with her trident while she concentrated on the water that remained, creating the same leeches she used against Unohana to take her power, though she barely managed to steal a part of his spiritual power when, noticing it, he threw Rangaku against Yoruchi to lunge at the Vosto Lord, who used her trident's power against his weapon, which proved useless because although she managed to land a cut on Broly, he shattered her weapon, and then grabbed her by the head, and with an evil smile began hitting her in the stomach many times, making her scream in pain until he grew tired, and threw her against her friends, who were in as bad a state as she was. Goku witnessed all the cruelty of that monster against his fiancés, so his rage kept increasing to an incredible level along with his power. He would not allow him to kill the people who made him feel love for the first time in his life. He would not let him destroy this world he promised to protect. So from one moment to the next he stood up, and with his head lowered transformed into SS2, ready to fight again, but now with an angrier look than ever. "Die trash," said Broly, charging a Sero blaster with his hands, launching it at the girls, who watched helplessly as that sphere approached them, unable to dodge it. "No, I refuse to die here. I managed to have a life I thought was a dream, and I do not plan to leave it behind, damn monster," thought Harem, getting up with difficulty. "I thought I would never love anyone again, but that was not the case, and I will not die here. I want to spend the rest of my life with the person I love," thought Rangaku, also standing up. "I was never interested in anyone, and now that I have been, I will not die here. I want to have a life beside the person I love most," thought Yoruchi, ready to face the attack. Before the three could begin charging their respective attacks with the strength they had left, Goku appeared in front of them, and with a look of complete hatred toward Broly, raised his hand to easily deflect the hollowified Saiyan's attack. "Do not dare hurt them, damn you!" shouted Goku as a column of golden power suddenly covered him, causing a great tremor, and the earth beneath him shattered, creating a crater, while his fiancés tried not to be blown away by the release of power. This power was such that it was felt in the Soul King's lair, so Squad Zero also felt it. In Hueco Mundo a hollow shape like a centaur with green hair felt that increase in power, as did another hollow with the appearance of a white bat, another shape like a panther, two others with human forms, a blonde girl and an older brown-haired man whose calm face turned to a surprised one. The king of Hueco Mundo felt some fear, and even the traitor Shinigami felt that power, which Aizen did not know whether it belonged to Goku or to his creation, but yes, he was surprised because he never thought they would reach this power that rivaled and surpassed that of the Soul King. In the human world, there were devastating earthquakes, so the Arankars Sung Sun, Apaxi, and Mila Rose made sure the humans were not hurt by the tremor, as did some friends of Urahara, who were Shinigami with hollow powers, known as Vizards. Meanwhile, in an unknown place resembling a palace, a group of people known as the Sternritter felt that increase in power, surprised that it surpassed their creator. Goku's power kept increasing while Broly's eyes behind his mask showed astonishment at seeing his enemy's hair bristle and grow down to his back, while his eyebrows disappeared. "I will finish you. I will never forgive you for hurting them and my son. Damn you!" And with that final scream, Goku completed his transformation. His power grew to an unmatched level, surpassing phase 2 of the Super Saiyan. Lightning covered him, his long golden hair waved in the wind, and his serious gaze showed absolute anger against his enemy. "Dad, you have surpassed the powers of Super Saiyan 2, said Gohan as he returned to consciousness, being hugged by his girlfriends, who were very worried. Now Goku, in phase 3 of the Super Saiyan, was about to launch into combat against Broly, if not for Yaruchi giving the elder son the last hermit seed, which he ate, restoring all his lost power in addition to no longer having his wounds. So now the future husband of the Shinigami, and the Arankar, was ready to annihilate the legendary Saiyan. "Thank you, Yaruchi, I will finish him for you all," said Goku, glancing toward the purple-haired woman. And with that said, the combat resumed. Now Goku began to take the lead in the fight, landing powerful kicks and punches against his enemy, whose defensive powers were no longer useful to him. So not wanting to fall behind, he responded with blows, and also fired Cirrus without control, one of which went straight toward Nanao, who was helping her captain out of the rubble along with Momo and Soifan. The black-haired woman was frightened seeing it heading toward her, and knew perfectly well she would not have enough time to dodge the attack, but fortunately for her, Goku put himself in front of them all, deflecting the attack with great ease. "I told you, Nanao, I will protect you," said Sun with a smile, lunging at the crazed Saiyan, leaving a blushing lieutenant thinking how handsome she found him with that transformation that made him look so serious. "Wow, seems like someone is in love," said Kyoraku, who regained consciousness to say that to his lieutenant, who had never been interested in anyone. This time, an even redder Nanao let that comment slide, because her captain was in no condition to be hit. But of one thing the lieutenant was sure, she would punish him once he was healed, sending him back to the hospital. Goku and Broly exchanged blows and kicks in the air, and in the process shattered the Soul Society, with almost everything reduced to rubble by the Hollow Saiyan Cirrus, who seemed to be increasing his power again, while Sun's diminished little by little. Although Super Saiyan 3 was a powerful transformation, it came with the drawback that its power wore out quickly since it was not perfected. Broly landed a hammer blow on Goku, who before crashing into the ground regained his stability and launched himself skyward, headbutting his enemy in the stomach, making him vomit blood. This only enraged Broly further, who again launched merciless attacks while Sun countered with his own attacks, causing him damage, but at one point each managed to land their own attack, leaving Goku on the ground with his clothes nearly destroyed, and the green-haired man tired from this fight in the air. As if both had the same idea, the legendary Saiyan drew his hand back, beginning to create his most powerful and devastating technique, the Omega Zero Blaster, ready to destroy this world and kill Goku in the process. For his part, the elder son began concentrating all his strength into one last Kamehameha. He was not going to back down now. If Broly's attack hit the ground, everyone would die. "Dai, Kakarot too," said the deranged Saiyan, launching his attack, which was a very concentrated green sphere of energy. "HAA!" shouted Goku as both techniques collided in the sky, being very evenly matched. With Gohan. For his part, Gohan, who had Zangetsu in his good arm, saw the clash of techniques, but also watched how Broly laughed maniacally, launching more energy spheres to power up his attack, making the Kamehameha begin to lose ground. "This is bad. I must do something, but what?" thought Gohan as he looked at his sword, and saw his enemy seemed completely focused on killing his father, and that gave him an idea. "Guys, do not ask, but I need you to give me your energy," said Gohan, looking at his friend Chad and his girlfriends. "You plan to use one last attack against him," said Chad calmly, though hurting from the blows received. "Yes. I do not have enough power, and if I fail, Dad will die," said Gohan. So everyone without arguing began transferring their powers to Goku-san. And back with Goku, the Saiyan kept sending energy into his attack, but the green sphere kept gaining on him more and more without him being able to stop it. He was almost out of power, so he would not be able to sustain the transformation much longer. But from one moment to the next, Rangaku in her Benkei, Harabel in her second resurrection, and Yaruchi, who activated her Shunko, all wounded, positioned themselves behind their fiancé, ready to help with whatever they could, even if their help was minimal. "Sero, Kamehameha!" shouted Harabel as her yellow burst of energy mixed with Goku's. "Kamehameha!" shouted the Shinigami, the four of them beginning to stop the attack together. "Girls!" shouted Goku, surprised to see his girls helping him with the attack. "We will not abandon you at a moment like this. We will help even if our power is insufficient. We are in this together," said Yaruchi, speaking for all of them. Thank you girls, then let us finish this, said Goku, increasing his power. Now with both techniques back in the middle, while Broly only kept increasing his power without stopping his laughter. With Gohan, Goku's son received all the energy from Chad, Orihime, Tatsuki, and Rukia, leaving them all very exhausted afterward. But Son was satisfied because with that power he would give everything in the final attack. He transformed once more, for the last time, into SS2, while the aura of lightning covered Tensa Zangetsu, which in turn began releasing much spiritual power without the legendary Saiyan noticing since he was too busy trying to kill Goku. Ready partner, let us finish this, said Gohan as his sword internally agreed. Once he increased his power again, he launched the most powerful Jutsuga Tensho he had ever created. Something that was enough to fulfill his goal. Broly was so distracted that his defenses were low, so before he could add another energy sphere to his attack, Gohan's attack struck the sphere he was creating, exploding in his hand from Gohan's strike, making him drop his guard. Now, finish him, use everything you have, said Gohan, losing his transformation, and falling unconscious from exhaustion. Goku and his fiancés heard that shout, so they knew it was time to end this threat once and for all. Now girls shouted Goku, using all his power in the Kamehameha, along with his fiancés. The force of the 4 combined attacks was enough to pierce and destroy Broly's Omega Zero Blaster, who with his other hand tried to create another one, but was struck by the blue flash of energy that began pulling him out of this spiritual world's atmosphere until reaching the sun, where his entire body was consumed completely, screaming in agony. So within seconds the legendary warrior ceased to exist, not knowing that his death would be a problem in the future. In a completely unknown place, a person who seemed to be unconscious and trapped inside a castle involuntarily drew an evil smile, because he felt as though a part of him returned to his body, and with it, the power of that dead person. In the Soul Society, after that tremendous attack, Goku lost his transformation, falling onto his back on the ground with a satisfied smile at having defeated his enemy and having protected this world, while his girls also fell to the ground, losing their released power states. You did it Goku, said Rengoku with joy though she was very tired. No girls, we all did it, said Goku, knowing that the support they gave him had helped some, and that if Gohan had not taken his friend's power, most likely his Jutsuga would not have been able to stop the Hollow Saiyan's attack. Despite the tremendous destruction the battle caused, no one ended up dead, but many were badly hurt, like the captains who faced Broly. The 4th Division and the prison were the only things left standing. Suddenly with a flash step appeared the only captain in good condition who also had full command of the entire Soul Society, while Kyoraku and Yamamoto recovered. This was none other than Captain Yukitake, who along with 2 of his subordinates, was ready to take the Suns to the 4th Division to heal them in case Aizen took advantage of the Suridi's vulnerable state to attack. To defend themselves, the Shinigami needed the 2 Saiyans at their best. Mr. Son Goku, allow me to introduce myself. I am Captain Yukitake. I disagreed with Rukia's execution, and seeing that you defended this place from that monster I am very grateful to you, said the white-haired captain, bowing respectfully along with his subordinates. Thank you, but I could not have done it without them, without my son, and his friends, said Son with a smile from the ground. They also have my gratitude. So now you will all go to the 4th Division to be treated, and since I am in command I say you are no longer enemies, but our saviors, said the white-haired man with a smile. Then Yukitake ordered his followers to take the Suns to be healed while they were followed by Soi Fan and Nanao, being the only ones capable of moving and defending them in case things did not go well, though this gave Goku's fiancés a bad feeling, thinking that in the future their bed would be somewhat crowded. And that is it for this week. I hope you liked it. I am announcing that the first season of the story ends at chapter 27, and chapter 28 is the beginning of season 2. The weekly question: consider it a help for the future if Goku, Gohan, and possibly Goten's girls learn the fusion dance. Which fusion would you like to see and what would it look like? Honestly, the idea I have for a fusion of Goten's girls is eye-catching. But I will not tell you anything, draw your own conclusions. And something else related to last week's question. I like Vegeta with the Spartan beard from Super better than the mustached Vegeta from GT XD. In the Soul Society, a few days later, the enormous fortress of the Soul Society was now mostly just a pile of rubble. Hundreds of houses were destroyed by the fight against the legendary Saiyan. The only things left standing were the meeting hall, the prison, and the 4th Division, which could not handle so many wounded that they had to treat the less serious cases outside the building, with an entire street full of wounded Shinigami. and inside the complex were those who had arrived first to face the sons, the lieutenants, captains, and the Ryakas who thanks to Oriheim's healing powers were all recovering quickly, while Yamamoto and Kyoraku were incapacitated from the battle. The one in overall command was Captain Yukitake, the only captain fit and not too injured to give orders, which were very clear. Those orders were that healing the Ryaka's son Goku and son Gohan was a priority. If Aizen attacked now that the Shinigami were weakened, they needed their best fighters ready. The next order was to drop all criminal charges against Rukia and Rangaku, and to avoid further problems, he gave them the position of permanent watchers of Karakura so they could have a life beside the people they loved. And the last order was that both Saiyans be kept under watch to prevent anyone from attacking them. In Goku's case, his watchers were Soi Fan and Nanao, who took advantage of that time to get to know this man who had stolen the hearts of 3 women. For her part, Soi Fan could understand why her teacher fell in love with this man for his innocence and good heart. This in some way made her happy for her teacher, but at the same time somewhat jealous that she could not find someone like Goku, for supposedly being a sourpuss. And Nanao, well, she was documenting the talks with him trying to get information, which worked. And both she and the small captain were stunned that he was a genuine extraterrestrial from another dimension, which in some way explained the beastly power of Sun and of Broly. And Gohan was watched by Lieutenant Momo, who now understood why her friend loved this boy. He was kind, noble-hearted, innocent, and very cute, which made her feel a bit envious of Rukia's luck. And speaking of the black-haired girl, she was with her harem friends helping heal the Shinigami while Chad along with Hanataro, Urayu, and Ganju searched through the rubble of the place for more wounded people. For their part, Goku's fiancés were still somewhat sore, but had recovered well enough to stroll through the complex and visit their future husband, who thanks to Anahana's care was already in good condition but would have to wait before moving freely through the complex until everything was well. As for the rest of the people who took part in the combat, the one in the worst state was Yamamoto, who ended up with his entire back and ribs destroyed, in a near-coma state. Kenpachi had severe burns and many broken bones, but thanks to a worried Anahana he also recovered while Yatru took care of him. The pink-haired girl was fine since the sadistic captain had left her in the meeting hall so she would not be in that brutal fight. With Goku's girls, Sun's fiancés were resting in the courtyard of the place, Yoruchi in her black clothes with some bandages on her arms, Rangaku in her black kimono with a bump on her head for accidentally saying how good her man was in bed in front of her friends, who got angry that she got ahead of them, and punished her for it. And finally there was Harabel in her white clothes with some bandages. "How is Goku, Harabel?" asked Rangaku of her friend. "He is in perfect condition, he has already been discharged and now he is with Gohan. And afterward he will take a walk around here," said the Vosto Lord calmly, sitting on the wooden floor of the courtyard. "That is good, then all this is over," said Rangaku, sighing with tiredness, already wanting to return home to the world of the living. "Yes, although Aizen is a problem for another day. It is all over, you and Rukia are free, and now we will return to the human world to continue with our lives," said Yoruchi smiling, already wanting to go home and be able to sleep again hugging her future husband. "Yes, besides I already miss Apoxy, Sun, and Mila Rose, they must be worried that we took so long," said Harabel, wanting to return to the people she considered her daughters, and continue keeping in line the sharks she tamed by force at her job at the aquarium. "Yes, and now that we are free, I think we have to settle the matter we left pending," said Rangaku with a serious face looking at the others. "I agree, we still have not decided who will be first to have her wedding night with our beloved fiancé," said Yoruchi, looking competitively at her friends. Suddenly the atmosphere felt heavy from the hostile aura the 3 women were giving off since their mystery remained unresolved. Soi Fan and Nanao, who were passing by, felt that hostility between Goku's fiancés, so they went to see what was happening, observing the 3 of them glaring daggers at each other. "Lady Yoruchi, what is going on?" asked the small captain, somewhat intimidated by her mentor's murderous aura. "We are making an important decision," said the purple-haired woman without taking her eyes off Rangaku. "And what would that decision be?" asked Nanao curiously. "Who will be the first to marry Goku?" said Rangaku, looking at Harabel challengingly. For their part the captain and the lieutenant blushed imagining Goku in his wedding suit and also felt jealous of the lucky women, though they were not going to admit they were jealous since they did not yet understand what they themselves were feeling. "And why do you not do a simple game and decide the order from the winner down to the losers?" said Nanao, adjusting her glasses with her blush still present, offering an easy solution to the problem. That answer lit a bulb in the 3 girls, who had not thought of that and were about to make that decision the way any Saiyan would. "Alright girls, let us see who will be first," said Rangaku, pulling her hand back while her friends did the same. Soy Fan and Nanao were somewhat interested in knowing the result, so they stayed to watch. They all pulled their hands back, and after saying rock paper scissors, there was a clear winner. Yaruchi's and Rangaku's hands showed the scissors symbol, while Harabel calmly made the rock symbol, defeating her friends, indicating she would be the first to marry the Saiyan. Upon realizing her victory, the Vosto Lord did not know how to react, since she did not like being very spontaneous with her emotions like her friends. But she really wanted to scream like crazy with joy, jump from excitement. But no, her whole face blushed. And then she did something very unlike her that surprised Rangaku. "Whoa, is that not cute? She just fainted from excitement," said a happy Yoruchi at that reaction, looking at the blonde fainted on the ground with swirls in her eyes, and very flushed. "Do not get distracted. We lost, but let us see who is second," said the former lieutenant, getting into position. "Yes, though I think I know what the result will be. First in, last out," said the Catwoman. After those words, both friends played the most common game for making decisions again, being watched with sweat drops on their heads by the small captain and Lieutenant Nanao. In the end, in words that turned out somewhat prophetic, Yaruchi made the paper symbol while Rangaku made rock, giving the purple-haired woman her place as second to marry. For her part, now the purple-haired former captain was very happy at having won on the second try, jumping with joy and hugging an embarrassed Soy Fan like a stuffed toy, while Nanao tried to cheer up Rangaku, who had a dark cloud over her head, falling into depression, drawing little circles on the ground. "Do not complain, you already slept with him, so now you will have to wait until you are married to do it again," said Yaruchi, still hugging Soy Fan. With Goku, the Saiyan, already recovered from his wounds, went to check on his son's condition, who had only exhausted all his power in combat, so it was nothing serious, and seeing that all his son's girlfriends were taking care of him, he decided to visit the place instead. His walk led him to the quarters where Kenpachi's subordinates lived, who was also partially healed and, along with Yachiru, went looking for Goku to collect on the favor owed. "If I see that guy again, I will tear him apart," said a Shinigami referring to Goku, who overheard that. "What are you talking about, friends?" asked Sun, appearing in the place. Goku's mere presence caused everyone there to press themselves against the walls in fear. Even Yumichika and Ikaku were just as terrified. But that was only the beginning of the horror. While the Elder Saiyan did not understand the reaction of the people he had sent flying, curiously the ceiling of that room had several pieces of wood patching holes shaped like people. Suddenly the atmosphere turned heavy. Ikaku and the rest of the people knew whose presence this was, and were terrified to see their captain Kenpachi recovered, with that eternal sadistic smile, while on his back was Yachiru, who had a notebook and pencil ready to write. "Ah, hello Kenpachi. I see you are already better after the fight," said Goku, laughing a little and greeting his new rival. "Yes, but the defeat only makes me want to become stronger, and for that I will need better training methods," said the sadistic captain, ready to collect on the favor. "Well, I think your training is effective according to what Anahana told me, but the training I did as a kid was heavier, and somewhat painful," said the elder son, remembering old times. "Yachiru," said the captain, snapping his fingers while his loyal lolly lieutenant sat on his shoulder, and got ready to write. Everyone watched in horror how their crazy captain got along so well with the guy who had given them the beating of their lives, and what gave them a very bad feeling was that what they were hearing only told them they would soon be half dead from Zeraki's new training methods. "Well then, tell me what those methods were and we are even," said Kenpachi, ready to listen, while a confused Goku just nodded. "Sure, when I was a kid I trained with the old turtle hermit, Master Roshi, who trained me, and my friend Krillin," said Goku, remembering good moments of his life. "Continue," said Kenpachi, impatient and interested. Among the training there was delivering milk while jumping for entire kilometers, moving giant rocks, and working the harvest, said Goku. This disappointed Zeraki a little, who was expecting more painful methods for his subordinates, who for a few moments believed they were saved, until Goku continued. "There was also swimming many kilometers while being chased by hungry sharks, tying ourselves to a tree to escape, and avoid the stings of furious bees, and the most horrible one, searching for a marked stone thrown far away, and if you do not find it in 30 minutes you do not eat. All of this while we wore turtle shells weighing more than 150 kilograms, which is nothing to me anymore at this point," said Goku, finishing his explanation of old Roshi's training. With that last part of the training, that Sun described, Kenpachi widened his deranged smile even more, already wanting to have his subordinates chased by sharks, while they went white with fear thinking about what their lives would be like if they did that training. And tell me, would it not be more interesting if I chased my subordinates to hit them while they searched for the stone? And if besides sharks I used piranhas? Said the captain, frightening his division even more. Of course, that sounds like a lot of fun. Surely you will be very strong after this, said Goku laughing. I bet Goku, ha ha ha. The captain began to laugh as an evil aura covered him. This action terrified the whole division at seeing that dark aura and crazy smile. Goku did not understand anything, and could think of nothing better to do than imitate his new friend, laughing too and releasing the same evil aura that his students saw at the academy. Finally Yachiru, who got down from Kenpachi's shoulder, did not understand anything either, so raising her elbows she let herself go, imitating the same laugh and aura, leaving all the wounded looking like ghosts since they would already begin writing their wills, sure that this training would kill them again. Excuse me, would you like to sign this here? Said the smiling Captain Unohana, arriving at the place. What is this? Asked Daikaku. It is a room reservation for whoever wants a spot in the hospital after the training, and the first 10 to sign get a small discount, in addition to including a tombstone in case you do not come out alive, said the black-haired captain with the same smile, while once again everyone went pale as Goku, and his new friend kept laughing. With Yoruichi. And that was the reason we took longer, said the cat woman into a phone, on the other end of which was Urahara. I understand, Aizen was playing with fire trying something like that, and I have no doubt he will try again, said the man in the hat seriously. Should we not go after him? Asked Yoruichi. No. Hueco Mundo is very large, besides there is little to nothing he can do with the Hagioku, said the former captain. And how are you so sure of that? Asked the purple-haired woman. Easy. Every time Rukia used her Bankei, the object began to be destroyed little by little, and since she used it several times during the training, at the very least the object will be broken for 8 years or more, said Urahara, knowing that the damage from Haka no Tagame was almost irreparable, and the ice nearly impossible to thaw. I understand, then he is a threat for another day, so we will have to be ready. We will start training once we all get back, said Yoruichi. By the way, when are you coming back? Those 3 are worried, and besides they want to collect the favor from Rukia, said the man in the hat, remembering when Sung's son told him that Rukia owed them a favor for distracting Orihime and Tatsuki during their first date. We will be back tomorrow for lunch. We are all fine now, but Yuka wants to give something to Goku and Gohan before we leave, said the Catwoman. Good, then see you tomorrow, said the former captain, hanging up the call. With Gohan, the little son was being cared for by Orihime, who although he was already fine, insisted on feeding him while Tatsuki along with the rest of their friends helped clear rubble from the city so reconstruction could begin afterward. Rukia was busy finishing an argument with Yuka, who was telling her that with her abilities, she could become a lieutenant. But she declined the offer because she did not like the idea of paperwork, and that it meant less time with her boyfriend. For her part, Momo watched as the sweet girl fed Sun some strange food prepared by the orange-haired woman, which besides having a repulsive appearance had a smell so strong she had to cover her nose. Orihime's cooking was considered by many to be strange, and potentially lethal since Tatsuki, upon trying some of what her friend made, ended up fainting with her soul coming out of her mouth like a ghost, and more than once her classmates had to have her stomach pumped at the hospital. The only people who loved her cooking were Goku and Gohan, who upon eating all of that food did not find it disgusting at all, quite the opposite. Rangaku also liked it, as did all the Arankars, who also thought it was the best thing they had ever eaten in their lives. After the orange-haired girl finished feeding her boyfriend, and gave him a kiss on the lips, leaving the brown-haired girl jealous, she went off to keep helping in the recovery of some seriously wounded Shinigami. Why am I jealous? Do I like him? And if so, is he available since he has a harem? Wait, what am I thinking? Thought a blushing Momo, with steam coming out of her ears from that last part. She thought she had somehow become interested in him, since she met him for being someone kind and gentle. Besides worrying about her despite barely knowing her, remembering when he saved her from the Sero blaster of the now-deceased legendary Saiyan. With Goku, the Saiyan was stretching his muscles after being in bed. His fiancés were busy, so the only people watching this training were Soi Fan and Nanao, who upon seeing Sun without a shirt were quite flushed, but still would do what they came to do. Mr. Goku, said Nanao to get the Saiyan's attention. Oh hi Nanao-chan and Soi Fan-chan. How can I help you? Asked Goku cheerfully. Well, we wanted to thank you for saving us from that monster despite the fact that we attacked you when we first met you, said Soifan, looking away so as not to look at Sun's muscles. You are welcome. I was not going to let you die because I promised I would protect you. And I always keep my promises, said Sun, smiling as always, making both of them blush again. Goku, I want to talk to you, said Haribel's voice, wanting to tell her fiancé that she would be the first to marry him. Sure Haribel, I am coming, said Sun, leaving the place with his fiancé, leaving the Shinigami in the courtyard a bit jealous. Before both of them left the place to continue with the reconstruction, a little pink-haired girl witnessed the whole conversation and had no better idea than to have fun teasing the girls. You are in love? I will tell everyone, said a cheerful Yachiru, who began to run. Wait, that is not true, said the captain and the lieutenant, blushing, chasing the girl. Nana and Kitty are in love. Yachiru shouted throughout the place, embarrassing both of them, because in part it was true. Authors note those are the nicknames Yachiru uses for them. The next day, Goku and the rest of the people who came to the Soul Society were ready to return to the human world, and were only waiting for Yucatake to give them something he had been working on, besides opening the doors to their home. Sorry for the delay, some people also wanted to say goodbye to you, said the white-haired captain. Behind him were Lieutenants Nanao and Momo along with Captain Soifan, which made Goku's fiancés think that in the future they would definitely have to plan 2 weddings. Or maybe it was just their imagination, while Rukia looked at her friend with a smile, because she would not mind sharing her boyfriend with her friend. As acting captain commander, all charges against Rukia and Rangaku are dropped, and for having saved this place from that monster of Aizen's making. I give you this as recognition, said the captain. Yucatake gave both Saiyans a kind of amulet made of wood shaped like a skull in the center, at which they looked, puzzled by the gifts. These are badges that identify you as substitute Shinigami. And now you will be able to open the doors to the Soul Society on your own, said the white-haired man. Thank you, said Gohan, as did his father. After saying goodbye to Yucatake, Goku gave Soifan a hug, leaving her red from feeling his muscles. The same happened with Nanao, who ended up just as red as the captain, and something similar happened with Momo when hugged by Gohan. Rangaku also said goodbye to her colleagues, telling Momo she would have a special job at her wedding. Yoruichi told Soifan she would not mind sharing Goku with her, leaving the captain very red and imagining herself in a white wedding dress, fainting at the idea, giving away just how smitten she was. With all the goodbyes done, everyone left, starting to run through the dange to quickly reach the human world right at the entrance of Urahara's shop. We are here, how I missed this place, said Rangaku, looking at the sun and stretching her arms. Ah, I see you are back, just in time for lunch, said the former captain, coming out of his shop with the Arankars, wearing kitchen aprons. Lady Haribel, it is good to see you again, said the ever-calm Sung Sun with a pink apron. It is also good to see you again. But why are you wearing those aprons? Asked the Vosto Lord. What is happening is we wanted to learn more human things, and that is why we prepared lunch, said Mila Rose proudly, wearing a black apron. And since Rukia owes us a favor, we want her to try what we made, said Apaxi, appearing with a pot wearing a red apron. Sure, no problem, just let me put on my jjigae, said the small Shinigami. I will pass, I have to go home. My family might be worried, said Tatsuki, leaving the place. In part that was the reason to leave, but she also left because she had a bad feeling. I will go with her just in case something happens, said Yoruichi, who also left because she had that same bad feeling. Chad was also about to leave, but his brown eyes met the pink eyes of the snake Arankar, who smiled at him sweetly. So the brown-haired man decided to stay to chat with this girl he liked for who she was. With everyone already in Goku's dining room waiting to see what Haribel's followers had prepared, the first to try it would be Rukia, who for some reason felt something bad would happen to her. We hope you like it, we made it with a lot of effort and love, said Sung Sun, showing the contents of the pot, leaving the black-haired girl pale. What was inside seemed to be rice, if not for some green parts that according to the Arankars, was pickle sauce along with not very well prepared sweet and sour chicken, all topped with chocolate sauce. Girls, where did you learn to cook? Asked Rukia, suspecting where they learned to make such a thing, looking at Oraheim, who had a big smile. Well, Oraheim kindly prepared a cookbook for us with her best dishes, and we decided to practice, said Mila Rose, giving a thumbs up to the cheerful orange-haired girl, who was already eager to try what her friends had achieved. Rukia, knowing Oraheim's cooking beforehand, wanted nothing to do with it, but she had to repay them for the favor of having helped her, besides not wanting to disappoint them. So using a great deal of willpower she took a bit of food with a spoon and tried the dish. "So how is it?" asked Apaxi expectantly, as did her friends. "It is delicious," said the black-haired girl haltingly before falling face first to the ground. "Hey Rukia, why did you leave your jjigae?" asked Gohan. Seeing that his girlfriend was standing there with a confused face next to her jjigae, which had a blue face with a little ghost coming out of its mouth. "Seems like Orihim's food is so awful it just poisoned my jjigae," thought the small Shinigami in her spirit form, poking her pale human body with her foot. "Great, do you want more?" asked Apaxi. "No thanks, I was not that hungry," said Rukia as she went off to Urahara's shop to detoxify her jjigae, which she carried. "Your loss more for us," said Mila Rose. And so everyone began eating happily like one big happy family that would possibly grow in the future. But for now they would all enjoy being home and relaxing, until a new threat appeared.